Hi everyone, this is Natalie with Ask the Therapist. So today I wanted to talk briefly about women and mental health and therapy. Okay, in my practice, I have a practice in Decatur, Georgia area, and I see a lot of clients from week to week. And the majority of the clients that I do see are women, and a lot of them are African American women, but nevertheless, I see a lot of women clients. And many times when they do come in to see me, it's because they've reached their breaking point, right? So as women, we often seek help when we're reaching our breaking point. Somehow in this society, women feel as if they have to do it all, or we have to do it all. And I'm sure men experience that too in some ways. But a lot of responsibility gets put on women. As women, we are the caretakers. As women, and this doesn't start when you become 18, we become women. This starts very early on as young girls. Okay, being a caretaker, having to put the needs of others before our own, having to put aside some of our emotions and our feelings. So there's a lot of things that as women, society teaches us to do, which doesn't necessarily help us. Okay, so I just wanted to kind of talk about that a little bit. So women, so just a few statistics. 1 out of every 3 Americans are struggling with a mental health issue. Okay, 40% are women. 40% more women more likely struggle with depression than men. Okay, 40% more women will more likely, no, not 40%, women are 2 times more likely to develop post-traumatic stress disorder. Okay, so women are 2 times more likely to develop post-traumatic stress disorder, and women are 40% more likely to have depression. Okay, and then we have our own women issues, and depression could be from a whole lot of different things. So postpartum, we have postpartum depression that is strict solely for women. We have depression that also stems from menstrual periods as well, and so that's related strictly for women. So depression could mean a whole lot of different things, and there's certain depression that's strictly for women. And so these are all the different things that women deal with. And so the other thing too that impacts women significantly, 1 out of every 4 women experience sexual assault in our society. So one out of every 4 women experience sexual assault, and 1 out of every 3 women has an incidence of some type of domestic violence. Okay, and so these are very distinct things that women go through. Okay, and I just wanted to kind of address some of that, because interestingly enough, with the majority of my clients that come in, obviously they come in with a lot of childhood experience, a lot of adverse childhood experiences that were never resolved. And as I've talked about before, oftentimes when we experience things in our childhood, and there's research on this, CDC and Kaiser Permanente did a research called the ACE study, which is Adverse Childhood Experiences, where they looked at 10 different things: domestic violence, physical abuse, sexual abuse, missing parent, an absent parent, a parent that's incarcerated, a parent who may have mental health issues. So they looked at different things, and studies show that if a child has had some of those experiences before the age of 18, then that increases likelihood of substance abuse. It increases likelihood of mental health issues. It increases likelihood of physical health issues. It increases likelihood of heart disease, stroke, and all these other things as well. Okay, so these are things I talk with clients about because that's significant. So people are already coming in with a lot of things from their past that's unresolved, right? And then we continue to experience life, whether it's with partners, whether it's at work, whether it's with our children, and these things continue to pile. Because, again, um, when we experience things that are difficult, we don't take the time to process and work through them. We often ignore and dismiss, and we place it all in a box. Okay? And so when people are coming to see me, they're coming in with a box that's full. And my job is to help them, is to help these women kind of go through that box, how to open up that box and kind of go through that box. Okay? Because in the meantime, we still have to be caretakers. We're still having to be mothers. We're still having to be wives, girlfriends, caretakers to parents, be the person to manage stuff at work. So we're still having to do a lot of these responsibilities, yet we have a lot of things inside of us that's still not resolved. Okay? And what tends to happen is it impacts all of our lives. It impacts all of our relationships. Okay? And so those are things that we need to make sure that we work on and address. And so for women, we have a lot of responsibilities. Okay, and we take on a lot of responsibilities. This notion of being superwoman, and that's something I have to continuously dismiss with women. Superwomen, we could be superwoman, but superwoman, it's okay for superwoman to cry. It's okay for superwoman to ask for help. It's okay for superwoman to say no, to set limits, to set some boundaries. It's okay for superwoman to say, you know what, I'm not doing that. It's okay for superwoman to put herself first. It's okay for superwoman to do all these things and still be super. Okay? And oftentimes we think it's either we have to be super or we have to be this. No, it doesn't have to be one or the other. We can be all these things. Right? And so in therapy, my role in teaching women how to really, part of it is becoming self-aware. Because the first step is self-awareness. Self-awareness of everything that we have going on in our lives. So self-awareness is the key. It's important to be self-aware of our experiences, past, present, and how these experiences are shaping us. It's important to be self-aware of our experiences. It's important to be self-aware of our thoughts, our thinking patterns, and how that drives us. Because our thoughts drive us, and sometimes we have irrational thoughts. And we have thoughts that's embedded in our minds from young. So it's important to be aware of those thoughts. So self-awareness of experiences, self-awareness of our thinking, of our thoughts, self-awareness of our emotions. What is our emotions telling us? And in terms of feelings, as well as body sensations. What's going on in our body as well. So self-aware of that, self-awareness of that, as well as being self-aware of our actions. Okay, so all these things play a part. Our behavior, our actions, our feelings, our emotions, as well as our thinking patterns. And then here we are, our experiences. So all these things make us who we are, and we need to start becoming self-aware of that. And as women, we experience a lot of things. And putting those pieces together could help us become self-awareness, help us know who we are. Okay, it amazes me how many women come in through the door and they're not aware of who they are. They don't know who they are. They're trying to figure it out. Or who they are is based on their partner. Who they are is based on their mate. Is based on their parents. It's based on other people. It's based on their families. Based on their children. But not having an identity or a definition of who they are. Because what happens with that is when things aren't well with their mates, with their parents, with their children, when those situations aren't going so well, then it brings on confusion. And so self-awareness is really key and really important in all those aspects. So to recap some of the things, and feel free, so a few people joined in, so feel free to ask questions, please. Again, 40% of women are impacted by depression more than men. And that is significant. And we, I think as women, we hold our depression, we carry our depression a lot different than men do because we have so much going on. We can't afford to just lay there. So a lot of women are moving, are parenting, are teaching, are doing the things, are going to work because these are their responsibilities, and there's no one else to fill those responsibilities, right? And so it's how do we find balance, and how do we take time to take care of the things that's going on in those boxes, in the box that we've put all these things inside this box, and how do we take the time to go through that box before that box becomes overwhelming. So what eventually happens to the emotional baggages that we carry, they start to have a weight. Okay, so going back to mental health impacts physical health. That weight, it's an emotional weight. However, that weight does feel heavy. I know for me, as a woman, and this, there's research on that too, where physically where things impact our body. So for me, it's my back, and then just pressure between my heart and chest. Right? And so I feel a weight when I'm stressed. I start to feel that weight on my body, and I'm very aware of what that is, and I pay attention to that. So there's daily check-ins. I do daily checks with my body, with my mind, to see where I am, so that the weight doesn't get too heavy. Because once it's really heavy, now you're going into physical health issues, and it's going to impact physical health issues. So these are things we have to address. All right? And then these are issues also impacts our relationship. So one thing I tell my clients, and as well as my women clients, our first relationship technically is with ourselves. However, as a child, we don't define that. We don't get that yet. So our first relationships, technically when we're children, is with our caretakers, is with our parents, our moms and our dads, right? And they're the ones that's teaching us how to interact in the world, how to feel, how to do things, how to self-esteem, safety, security, trust, all these things, how to define these things. They are teaching us how to do that. Our parents, our caretakers, the people around us, as we're kids, because we don't know, right? And so when we're hungry, we're looking for someone to feed us. That brings security. When we fall, we're looking for somebody to say it's going to be okay, to clean it up. It's going to be okay. That makes us feel safe. That makes us feel good. That lets us know, we can get back up and we can do it again. And it's going to be okay. When we've done a great job, we look for people around to say, great job. And that makes us feel better. Okay, that builds self-esteem. Right? And so when some of these things don't happen, on top of having adverse experiences, including domestic violence or substance abuse in the home, or physical abuse in the home, on top of all these other experiences that may happen, then that creates some barriers, and that creates conflicts in how we relate to people around us. Okay? And that impacts other relationships. Okay, it impacts relationships with our partners. It continues to impact relationships with our caretakers, with our parents, and all that stuff starts to take a toll. And so, in order to address the things that we have going on, we have to take the time. We have to stop and take that time. So, as women, one of the things I strongly am urging you to do is really take the time to take care of yourself. Okay, that's really important. And that means taking care of ourselves in terms of our mental health. It includes all of it. Mental health includes the physical health. It includes the spiritual health. It includes the mind, relationships. It includes so much, because our mental health is how we're functioning, or how we're functioning emotionally, how we're functioning in the world in terms of how we see things. Okay? And so we need to take the time to see how all of our experiences have impacted us to this point, and how it continues to impact our relationships, our work, our patterns, our behaviors, how it impacts everything around us, so that we can be our best self. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that, because again, I'm constantly getting a lot of clients, and the other thing too with particularly women clients is, again, the patterns, right? So again, the relationships, our first relationships is with our parent, and a lot of reasons women are coming to see me too is the relationships they're getting involved in with their partners, their mate, and and how unhealthy it is. And the only way to start paying attention to these patterns so that it doesn't repeat for our next relationship, because everything is a learning. You know, one thing I tell clients too, because a lot of women, we tend to beat up on ourselves. We tend to feel shame and feel unworthy and feel insecure. And so part of my role is to work on eliminating these things. And so making the choices we make, yes, it's taking responsibility for those choices. It's acknowledging it, acknowledging where we made the poor choice, and learning how to grow from there, right? So self-blame doesn't help. Feeling shame doesn't help. That just keeps us more stuck. So there has to be ways to push through the shame, and to push through those things so that we could heal and do the work that we need to do. But yes, so oftentimes the women are coming in because of their relationships, poor relationships, struggles in their relationships, feeling used, feeling abused. And again, it's really taking the time to figure out what's going on with them, what's going on with them internally, to continue to be in relationships that we know is unhealthy, that they also know is unhealthy, that the women know is unhealthy. So again, in order to do that, we have to take some time to do some self-assessment. So I strongly encourage, again, women to take the time to get the help. So Superwoman means it's about being your best self. And in order to do that, we have to seek help in whatever avenue that we need to seek help, so that we can be better at whatever we're trying to be. Okay? So I want to dismiss these notions of, in order to be Superwoman, you have to be just one way. It's one way to be Superwoman. No. A Superwoman can also cry. A Superwoman could also fall down. A Superwoman can also ask for help, can also be weak at times. So, but then what do we do from there? Okay, so that's always my question to clients, is where do we go from here? Okay, so for my women clients, where do we go from here? Once we've identified this is the issue, where do we go from here? And how do we get to the place we're trying to get to? And that takes work. That takes self-assessment, because we're responsible for our emotional health. We're responsible for our mental health. We're responsible for our physical health. We are responsible for all of it. Okay? So I hope this was helpful. And I just wanted to, again, talk about the importance of seeking help. There's a lot of resources out there to seek help. There's a lot of services that caters to women. There's a lot of services out there that offers all type of support groups for women. And so definitely go online and take a look. Psychology Today is a great resource. There's other great resources out there. Definitely seek help. Please feel free to contact me if you have any questions. And so my challenge to all the women out there is to do self-assessment and to check in with yourself and to kind of figure out, okay, where am I at? What do I need to do? What do I need to do for myself to be my best self? Okay? Thank you. Again, this is Natalie Ellis, and hope this was a little bit helpful, and just wanted to share some information about the importance of seeking mental health counseling, and how beneficial it is. And so I strongly encourage people to do that. So if you are in need of services, I am in the Atlanta, Georgia area, in the Decatur area specifically. And feel free to reach out to me at Esteem Counseling and Consulting Services. Thank you, and have a great, great day.